Hello, and welcome to the Cinema Sitdown powered by Groovy. My name is Dom, and I'm here with Nav at Groovy's office here in Perth, Western Australia. Join us as we take a look at how the audience insights provided by Groovy help make sense of a constantly evolving theatrical landscape. Nav, welcome.
Welcome, Dom.
So Nav, it's our next podcast. What are we talking about today?
Firstly, we'll be doing a quick recap of Groovy's focus session at Cine Europe, which discussed turning cinema data into actionable insights. Then we will investigate a cinema campaign for Ben Affleck's film Air and highlight how data was leveraged to run a successful campaign that exceeded expectations.
So as you mentioned, Nav, Cine Europe just passed and Groovy was there, running a focus session on how cinemas can leverage the data to generate actionable insights and drive successful business outcomes. So as we know, a lot of exhibitors still have inadequate data tracking on their websites and are missing out on a treasure trove of valuable information. This ultimately leaves them at a massive disadvantage when it comes to understanding who their audience is, how their audience behaves, and what they are interested, which makes it difficult for the cinemas to reach and convert new customers.
Two of the main ideas from the session were about how cinemas can use their data to better understand their audience and how this data can be used to ensure advertising effectively reaches people that are most likely to be interested in seeing a film. Obviously, the end goal is to drive purchases, but as we know, the decision-making process to see a film can involve more than just the person who purchases the tickets. To help demonstrate how effectively cinema's website data can be utilised, we thought it would be an interesting idea to have a closer look at one of our cinema campaigns for the film Air.
So looking a bit deeper into the film Air, so this is a 2023 fact-based drama about Nike's fledgling basketball division and their attempts to sign superstar Michael Jordan into a partnership that would redefine sports marketing with two simple words: Air Jordan. So this film, it received generally positive reviews and it did feature a star-studded cast. But we've seen that these sort of mid-budget films have fallen a bit out of favour in recent years, specifically or especially for franchise-driven films and massive blockbusters. So Air faced a bit of stiff competition from the all-conquering Super Mario Bros. Film. There was also the Dungeons & Dragons film and also the latest John Wick movie. And there was quite a bit of a crossover with the audiences there, specifically that male 18 to 32 demo. And Air was also produced by Amazon, and it was originally slated to be released straight on their streaming platform, Amazon Prime. So its theatrical release ultimately was a late decision and was a bit of an experiment for the distributor. So in terms of the campaign that we ran for this film, we ran a digital campaign at an independent cinema chain that shows everything from your mainstream movies down to your small independent titles. This cinema, they offer like a premium experience with, your on-site bars, your cafes, and your gourmet dining options, but they don't really utilize that premium large format screens that other major cinema chains do. Because of this, that cinema tends to attract a more discerning audience, your more art house independent type films, compared to larger cinema chains. So Nav, in terms of how we use website data to plan this campaign, how did we go about it?
Well, Dom, the audience insights that we had from the website were incredibly helpful when deciding who we should target with our advertising. As you mentioned, there was strong competition for the 18 to 35-year-old demographic from large budget action and adventure films, seemingly making it more difficult to appeal to these audiences. However, audiences at this cinema chain are typically more discerning. Website data shows that critically acclaimed dramas such as The Banshees of Inisherin and Aftersun have performed particularly well for the 18 to 35 demographic. Therefore, we realised that these people were actually more of a persuadable audience than one may have initially assumed.
I think that's quite interesting. So what you're saying is that at first glance, it may not have been worthwhile trying to reach these audiences. But as we sort of dug deeper into the data, you could see that there was more potential there than we had first thought. Is that correct?
Exactly. The website data gave us greater understanding of what this demographic was most interested in seeing. And based on this, we put a greater focus on appealing to them in our campaign. We looked into similar audiences that interacted with session times for movies such as Creed 3, Aftersun, and The Whale. The first thing of interest is just how big of a film Air was at this cinema chain. It was actually the fourth highest selling film for online ticket sales in 2023, outperforming the likes of Super Mario Bros. The campaign itself ran over 2 weeks across Facebook and Instagram, targeting audiences who had already engaged with similar titles in the past. Using this data, the campaign also prospected lookalike audiences. We saw some interesting results when comparing impressions to purchases for each age group. The largest audience for this campaign was 25 to 34-year-olds, followed by 35 to 44s and 45 to 54s. While 25 to 34-year-olds accounted for the most purchases, 18 to 24s were second, with a much higher conversion rate than any other age group. When benchmarking purchases against impression share, 18 to 24s outperformed expected purchases by 55%.
Yeah, I think it is quite interesting to see such a strong conversion rate from that younger audience. I feel like this film really did a great job at appealing to a demographic that wouldn't be maybe typically interested in these sort of films. And it really goes to show that if cinemas have the right audience data to use, they can also convert this secondary persuadable audience to become a primary core buying group. After all, we saw how popular The Last Dance was on Netflix with that 18 to 34-year-old year group, and the cultural impact that Michael Jordan's deal with Nike has had and still is resonating to this day.
And you can really see that from the proportion of purchases from 18 to 34-year-olds, which is 80% higher compared to the benchmark for this cinema. And as mentioned before, Air is the fourth biggest release of the year at this cinema chain, proving that our strategy was the right one.
So in summary, by analysing the audience data from the cinema's website, it became clear that there could be an appetite for this film from that 18 to 34-year-old demo, despite the strong competition from larger titles. We only needed to identify who these audiences are and how they interacted with the website before to make sure that we could retarget them properly. And ultimately, the campaign results prove this as well, as 18 to 34-year-olds accounted for the most purchases and had the highest conversion rate, which allowed Air to become a slam dunk. Excuse the pun. So, now with Cine Europe behind us, we look forward to being a mainstay at many more film conventions in the future and hope to see some of you there. That's all from us this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Cinema Sit Down.